So I've been quite transparent about my journey as an entrepreneur, including sharing some of my business failures and, more importantly, how it's led me to my business success today. Now, I'm a big believer that the mistakes we make in our journey at whatever stage in our lives will ultimately influence and shape our future. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do today is to basically share with you guys some of the major mistakes I made at the start of my journey as an entrepreneur, as a new business owner, and more importantly, what I should have done. Okay, so my advice for anyone who might be in this position where you are looking to start a business and you really want to make sure you are avoiding these mistakes that I'm going to be sharing with you. The very first mistake I made was actually trusting the wrong people. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean hiring people and working with them within my business and not letting them go until it was too late. Now, businesses are all about teamwork and how well your team can work together to achieve your business's objective. Now, with that in mind, though, many times as business owners, when we're recruiting people, we do not know what that person can actually do. I mean, in terms of whether or not they can get the job done. Okay, all we're seeing is their CV, their resume, and whatever references that we have to go by. So what I'm going to say is, if you're in a position where you're looking to start a business, I would obviously take every precaution to make sure that the people that you're going to work with, the members of your team, know exactly how to carry out that job function. And in the situation where you find yourself that actually you made a mistake and you don't have the right team supporting you in your business, I would look to changing your team members sooner rather than later. Okay, so don't leave it too late, because leaving it too late will really just harm your business's success, and it's not good for your business in the long run. Now that leads me on to the next mistake, which was actually implementing multiple ideas. Now, this sounds good at first, but I will tell you that entrepreneurship gives you the freedom to be able to do anything, but actually this comes at a cost. And this is something that many people are unaware of when they first start their journey in business. And it can be very easy for you to start a business today, and then 3 months down the line, you're like, right, I need to add another business and another business and another business, without actually having a clear strategy in mind as to how those businesses actually work, having a clear plan, an idea as to how you are going to grow each of those businesses. It's so much more easier to fail doing it this way than it is when you actually decide to narrow down your efforts into a business or max 2 or 3 businesses that are somewhat complementary to each other. I feel like the world we live in right now, social media has got us absolutely convinced that if you do not have 6, 7, 8 different business ideas up and running at the same time, then you limit your chances of success. Whereas this couldn't be far from the truth, okay? In actuality, you do not want to be in a situation where you become jack of all trades, master of none. Because how are your clients, how are your customers going to build trust in you if they're not even sure what area it is you prove to be an expert in? So if you're looking to start a business, I would say that it is much more important for you to start with that business idea where you feel that your strengths can really shine. And then from that, you should think about what sort of complementary services, what sort of complementary products can you develop out of that business idea to help you maximize your revenue. This leads me to my next point, which is not focusing on a niche. Now, we've all been there. We start a business and we're like, right, my business is going to service every single one out there. And I think so many of us miss the boat because we don't realize that our business needs to actually define who and where its target audience is, because the minute you fail to do this, then you are going to be serving the wrong crowd inevitably. So what I would recommend, what I would do if I were to go back in time at the very beginning, is to start with a niche. Better yet, start with a niche of a niche. Okay, the more niche down your business idea is, the easier it will be for you to be able to create a product, create a service that is targeted to your audience, and the easier it will be for you to be able to sell that product and or service to them. So this is a mistake that I definitely regret making at the very start of my entrepreneurship journey, and it cost me a lot. Next mistake I heavily regret was overthinking everything. Now, when you start your business, I'm going to tell you right now, you are going to find that you fall into one of two categories. You're either a thinker or you're a doer. And for me, when I first started as a business owner, I found that I was more of a thinker. Okay, I would overplan, overthink, over strategize on every single aspect. Now, in hindsight, I soon come to learn that it is actually better for you to be more of a doer in the world of entrepreneurship. I think particularly at the start anyway, because until you start to do things, until you start to take the necessary action to actually carry out those tasks, those ideas that you have in your head, you are not going to know whether it works or not. Because on paper, we can plan all day, okay? We can plan all year long. But when it comes to actually implementing those plans, implementing those strategies, the results might be completely different to what we anticipated. So if you are in the position where I was in when I first started, and you are just, literally brainstorming every time, you are thinking, oh, but what not? What if they don't like it? What if they do? Honestly, just stop. Stop and start doing. Stop thinking. Okay, stop overthinking it. I mean, not stop thinking per se, but stop overthinking it and just do. Okay, be more in the position of actually doing things and learning from what you're doing sooner rather than later. Next mistake I made was actually miscalculating risk versus reward. What do I mean by this? I basically mean that as an entrepreneur, many of us, myself included, are generally under the illusion that for our business to work or to be as successful as we want it to be, we need to be willing to take risk. And by risk, I mean, we need to be willing to take whatever risk we see fit in order to make that business a success in our viewpoint. But what we forget to do is that we actually need to ensure that we are striking a fine balance between the risk we're actually taking in that business opportunity or for that investment versus the reward that we are likely to get back. Okay, if you are not doing this, if you're failing to strike this balance, then inevitably you are going to have problems. Okay, because you may very well say, oh, but Tess, I've got to take risk, right? Yeah, that's true. You definitely do have to take risk when you start your business or at some stage of running your business, but it's important that those risks are always calculated risks. Okay, you need to basically be calculating those risks and looking at what the probability of particular scenarios happening are likely to be if you took those decisions that you are predicting. That leads me on to the next mistake I definitely regret making, which is not having difficult conversations, or at least for me, not having those difficult conversations early on in the business. Now, we've all been there where we're running a business and we are so convinced that that business is going to be a success that we fail to be real with ourselves about where that business is really heading. Is that business actually going in the direction that we foresee it to go in? Now, failing to do this, or at least failing to have these difficult conversations and make the necessary decisions about your business as early on as you should be, can lead to you wasting a lot of time, a lot of effort, and more importantly, wasting money. Okay, so even if you have to hire the services of a professional accountant or a tax accountant to help look into the finances of your business, it's going to be much more worth it for you to do that sooner rather than later. Because what you don't want to do is to keep running this business, keep spending on those overhead costs, and keep investing in that business where that business is simply just draining all the money out of your pocket. So this is definitely a mistake that you don't want to make, and I was definitely guilty of making this mistake at the very start of my entrepreneurship journey. And funny enough, it's also a mistake that I see time and time again many of the clients that approach me are actually making. Okay, so this is a mistake that I see way too many people doing. Now, with that being said, I've made a video regarding some of the things I wish I knew before I actually started my business here in the UK. Click here to watch it now.